Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this event brought to you by ACEP and the Dutch GIZ's Regional Program Support for Reform Partnership in Ghana. The whole idea of this event is to solicit ideas from key stakeholders gathered here to address the financial barriers SMEs face in investing in renewable energy technologies. So I'll quickly run you through how the program is going to look like. I'm going to invite Mr. Benjamin Boache to give us an opening address, then remarks from our partners at GIZ. Maybe Richard can say a few words. Then we have a presentation by ACEP, a study that we did. Then Mr. Jani from Bank will give us a presentation on financial options available for renewable energy companies and SMEs. Then we would have our panel discussion, an interesting one, and then we'll open up the forum for everyone to join in the discussion. So that's how the event is going to look like. And I think we can start off now by inviting Mr. Boache, the Executive Director of ACEP, to give us his opening remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Kojo. And thank you very much, distinguished participants of this important conversation. As Kojo did indicate, I mean, this is an important meeting for us to understand what is happening in the renewable space as far as SMEs are concerned. We are privileged to be in partnership with GIZ on this project, and I thank Richard and the team for the collaboration that has brought us this far. We have tried to gauge a knowledge, understanding, and the preparedness of industry to participate in the global shift to cleaner and increasingly becoming cheaper energy source to ensure that, one, we can save the planet, and we can also provide cheaper and affordable energy to business and to people. So we have done a survey that we want to share with the participants of this forum, just to begin with, but most importantly also to feed into advocacy and also our renewed effort to ensure that Ghana is not left behind in the energy transition questions that are being raised for the world to answer. And not just for the adoption of the technology, but also to participate in the economics of the renewable energy space. And that is something we are committing to, and in partnership with donors and our partners, we want to aggressively pursue this to ensure that we can be seen to be aggressive, we can be seen to be responding to the global efforts, that is being championed in our day-to-day. So, but we see peculiar challenges in the Ghanaian context, where government, as we speak, is really constrained, not because of industry, not because of civil society or the general population, but because of political leaders' decisions, really, to commit the medium term, even to a large extent, the long-term perspective to conventional energy. And the attendant effect on the national budget has really constrained government, to be able to aggressively pursue renewable technology, even when it is clearly getting cheaper and much more better for our climate than conventional sources of energy. We were hit just last week, over the weekend, with a judgment debt of about $140 million for just one contract that we signed and couldn't follow through, and we canceled the contract. So all these financial burdens sits on the books of government, and making it difficult for government to listen to what we're talking about in renewable space and also aggressively pursue it. So either deliberately or unconsciously, we see in a lot of blockade on the adoption of renewable technology. But we have to find a way to allow industry to benefit, to allow citizens to benefit from the adoption of the technology. And that is why we're trying to study and understand what is happening in that space, what is the gap in financing renewable technology, so that while government sorts out its own problems, we can still have industry responding to the call for cleaner and cheaper sources of energy for us. So that is the essence of this conversation, for us to appreciate what is happening and into the future, see how we can strategize to deepen the adoption of renewable technology. So I want to thank you for participating in this. I'm still in here. We are going to have a conversation to really break it down and see where the opportunities are. How do we make it easier? How do we interface with government in the midst of the challenges? How do we interface with the regulator in the midst of the challenges? How do we get the independence of the regulators to be activated, so that industry can confidently say that, I mean, when you approach the regulator, you can engage and achieve results. And some of the concerns we have faced over the period, we have businesses coming to us, who want to deploy technology, and the frustrations they come to share, they are rather supposed to share with the regulators, right? So how do we create that space where the regulators will be willing to listen and provide needed information that cuts out the bureaucracies that industry face, for us to ensure that we can genuinely give options to people on what technology they want to adopt. I spoke about the economics of the renewable technology. I mean, it opens up a whole new market, for us. It opens up a whole new employment avenue, people servicing these renewable energies, and then also the opportunity to even develop the technologies locally. Also opens up significant job opportunities that we can't even have with conventional energy. But increasingly, we're seeing more commitment to conventional energy. So my expectation is that by end of this program, the banks will help us, industry will help us, and also the experts on this meeting will help us to see how we can reposition ourselves to finance and adapt renewable technologies, and also cooperate among stakeholders, be it government, the regulators, and the industry. So I thank you, and I'm grateful you're part of this conversation.
Thank you very much for giving us this important, very excellent opening remark. We are very happy, especially we, the SMEs all over the country. We are very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll quickly invite Richard Husselman from GIZ to also give us a short address. So Richard, if you are ready, please go on.
Yes, thank you, Coach Joe. Thank you, Ben, Said. Good morning, everyone. So I'm here from the Reform Investment Support Program. We represent GIZ. I saw one of our colleagues from our Green Market Entry Program, Ariel Mark. She's in the meeting as well. And I'm here with Donald, my colleague. So renewable energies and diversification of renewable energies is an important topic within German corporation. It's the main pillar of the Reform Investment Partnership with the Ghanaian government. But for us, as implementers, it is really important to know more about what are really the obstacles, what are the hindrances, what are the challenges that you face in investing into renewable energies. So also with our bank, our KfW, we're quite active in launching new projects. For example, they had the big success last year to open the Lara solar power project in the Volta region, I think, which is a good milestone for the diversification of renewable power sources. From our technical cooperation side, we have the Energy Service Center that was launched last year to provide services for energy efficiency and also for just renewable energy investment. So this is actually where our work with ACEP carries on and builds on. We would like to take these different threads and really to give a good orientation to especially SMEs, how they can make use of renewables. Doesn't always have to be in a large scale, as I just mentioned in Lara, but more also like how can companies just benefit from either directly going into renewables or just making the company greener and contributing to climate goals and also better energy mix here. So I'm looking forward to a good debate today, and especially I think the aspect of financing is very crucial, and I think let's take the time and really hear from the petitioners where the problems are here in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for your remarks. So we'll go straight to the presentations. We'll start from Charles, who heads our work stream on the climate change and energy transition at ACEP, to take us through what ACEP has found from the studies that we've been doing. So, Charles.
All right, thank you very much, Kojo. So my name is Charles Jenfield-Pori. I'm the policy lead for climate change and energy transition at ACEP. And we had a survey prior to this engagement and to assess the barriers and then the various opportunities for renewable energy adoption by SMEs in Ghana. So the key people that we engaged in this survey were the banks, the SMEs, and then also some renewable energy suppliers and importers, as well as the regulatory agencies, government and regulatory agencies. So this short presentation is a presentation of the findings of the study and the survey that we went out to do. So this is a brief outline of of the presentation. So we have a short background, also have information about the data that we took, and also the state of energy consumption and some barriers to renewable energy adoption, available financial options. Okay, so electricity is an essential commodity to the operations of both SMEs. I mean, all businesses alike. We use electricity for various operations in industry and also in service. And I think that businesses are very much dependent. Businesses, households, and probably everybody is dependent on electricity. And in order to improve on our businesses, in order to improve on our service operations, we need a reliable source of power, and we also need the power to be provided at a cheaper cost. So, a reliable and then affordable source of power is really required for businesses to thrive. And we've seen that some of the main supply challenges relates to unreliable source of power and also the high end user tariffs, which will be discussed as we move on in the presentation. So given these challenges that we see, you identify that businesses rather resort to self-generation options, basically with diesel power generators, especially when the issue of doomsday came some years ago. We saw a lot of the influx of diesel power generators in our market. So these options are available for self-generation and for businesses and SMEs to take note of and to take advantage of. I've also realized that solar plants and also other renewable energy technologies also have not only proven to be stable and cheaper, but also they also contribute to environmental sustainability. So in addition, we see that we can ask ourselves whether renewable energy renewable energy plants or renewable energy sources give the provide stable energy or provide a best case or a good business case for SMEs to shift to. We've seen a steady decline in renewable energy costs, and as you can see in this graph, we see that over the years, over the past decade, the cost of renewable energy per kilowatt has reduced significantly. And this is data from the IRENA, Institute of Renewable Energy Agency, and International Renewable Energy Agency. And you can see that in 10 years ago, a kilowatt of renewable energy or solar energy cost about over $4,500 per kilowatt. But now we are doing just a little above $1,000 or even less, about $900 per kilowatt. So we've seen the investment cost in renewable energy going down, and will it really provide a good business case for Ghana, for SMEs to be able to adapt to these new trends in renewable energy? Although there are advantages in renewable energy in terms of stability of supply, in terms of the decreasing investment costs, and in terms of its environmental sustainability, we see that the rate of adoption of renewable energy among the SMEs in Ghana as an option for self-generation is quite low. And generally, we also see that renewable energy adoption in Ghana is quite low. If you take aside the traditional sources of energy generation, that is the hydro and then the thermal, both cumulatively composing about 99% of Ghana's energy mix, then you can see that the share of renewable energy, the small scale hydro, the solar panels, and all of those other sources of renewable energy is quite low in Ghana. So what are the challenges? What are the associated barriers that come with adoption, or what is really causing this low adoption rate? And that is basically what we want to seek to find. So basically, we sought to take information from we used questionnaire, and then we went to take interviews. And as I said earlier on, we took information from SMEs based on the list provided by the Association of Ghana Industries. We also took information from some renewable energy suppliers, some financial institutions, banks and microfinance institutions, and also some government institutions, the regulatory bodies, and then the ministries. Okay, so the SMEs that we sought the information from they cut across the various the main industry operations. So we have agriculture, and most of these SMEs were generally into irrigation and then animal feed processing. From industry, we had people within manufacturing, those who had needed electricity to power their machines, and processing companies and packaging companies were all involved in this survey. And we also have services operations, hospitality industry, and other offices, consultancy services were also part of this survey that we undertook. So we also had, as I indicated, renewable energy suppliers within the sample. So basically, they were importers of renewable energy technologies, installers of renewable energy technologies, and also those who are engaged in the maintenance of renewable energy technologies. And these people were serving both households and then businesses, and some SMEs as well. Okay, so this is a snapshot of how the energy consumption traits among the SMEs we identified. So as you can see from this graph, we realize that conventional sources of power, if I could say in a good way, power sources from ECG and then NETCO, constituted the highest proportion of SMEs. So we had about 89% of SMEs utilizing power sources from these conventional sources as their primary source of power. And then also we have about 11 other also using fuel powered, mostly diesel powered generators as their primary source of power. When you come to the secondary power source, we see also diesel powered generator is formed the highest proportion of respondents or proportion of SMEs. So you have about 60% of the SMEs using diesel powered generators, and then we have about 5% using renewable energy sources as a secondary source of power, that is, as a backup source of power. And then about 35% had no backup source of power. So we have this kind of information giving us an idea about how the SMEs are largely dependent on conventional sources of power, and also dependent on fuel-powered generators for both primary and then secondary energy sources, respectively. So we move on straight to talk about some of the challenges that we face within the current energy system. As I was giving the introductory remark, I mentioned two main challenges. The first one was related to the high cost of power, and the second one was also related to the unreliable source. So based on the high cost of power, we saw that primarily SMEs that we identify spend about 36% of their total operation and maintenance costs on power. And this power cumulatively amounts to an average of about 1,900 kilowatt hour. And if you could see from the graph, you see that the primary average cost, and this is a monthly cost, so the average cost of power for the SME is about 2,100. The average cost of backup is about 920. That gives us about 3,020. And we had an average operation and maintenance cost of about 8,300 cedis every month. And that amounted to 36% of the total share of total operation and maintenance costs. And this tells us how important, or how power takes, the amount of cost, or the cost that power takes within our operation and maintenance cost. It's a very key component of the total cost of operating a business. And if the costs are high, that means that it counts, or it adds on to the total operation and maintenance cost and increases the overheads of the business, which can prove quite disadvantageous for the SME. So any cost reduction strategy, any cost reduction approach to power generation would be ideal for the SME to take and be advantageous for them. We also saw unreliability within the power sector or power supply as another challenge. And there are a lot of issues across the power sector value chain. If you take generation, for instance, well, generation is fairly robust. We have quite a significant generation capacity, and that is not much of a challenge. But then we have the transmission side has some challenges that causes occasional power tapes, some congestion on our transmission lines that is causing sometimes occasional disruptions in power. Then also we have some distribution challenges also resulting from transformer overloads coming in as a result of lower voltages and all that. All of that contributing to our intermittent power outages that we face day in and day out, which keep on affecting our business. So these two are the main challenges that we face within the current situation as we look up to conventional power for our energy generation. The research also sought to identify some of the barriers that can be attributable to, or some of the barriers of renewable energy adoption. And by so doing, we identified some causes, and I think the main challenge we saw was the financial challenges. We interviewed a total, out of the total 45 SMEs that we consulted, we saw about 55% highlighting financial challenges as one of the main barriers to renewable energy penetration. And these came in various forms, as in within high investment costs. And that is a challenge, because although the cost for renewable energy is high, within our system or within our business environment, it's still high for the SME to put in quite a huge investment to adopt or to add on renewable energy as part of their energy mix to encourage affordability and also consistent supply of power. So the investment cost is an issue, and there's also the challenge of limited or hardly available credit facilities that is coming from our financial institutions. And that is why we have some financial institutions here to give us an idea of where and how SMEs and also renewable energy suppliers can find finance or can access finance to adopt renewable energy and also expand their businesses as industries, as SMEs, and also as renewable energy suppliers. And we also have weak incentives from government in supporting renewable energy. And these are some of the challenges we saw from the financing side as faced by SMEs and also renewable energy agencies. Now, what we also saw was that there was quite limited knowledge on renewable energy technologies. Some SMEs were quite limited in their ability to find companies or renewable energy companies who will be able to supply some of these technologies to them. So if we can generate a database, if we can generate an area where it will be easy to locate some of these providers, because some SMEs, as I said earlier on, do not really know where they are located and how available are these technologies, what are the funding requirements, and how can they even access these things. So this is a challenge for some of the SMEs, and if you're able to assess that, that would be great. We also have quite a number of regulatory challenges. Recently, we saw the amendments to the Renewable Energy Act that was quite high on net metering. And net metering, all regulations on net metering are yet to be developed. And so as it stands now, we don't have a clear guideline or a clear pathway to go as far as net metering is concerned. We also have businesses, especially renewable energy companies, complaining about high registration and renewal fees, and also the bureaucracies that exist in obtaining permits for business. There's also the absence of market data on renewables, and as if you compare how much the data that is available in the renewable energy space in Ghana with the conventional energy space in Ghana, renewable energy is quite low, is quite scant, and these companies, which is the renewable energy companies, believe that some of these things or some of the absence of some of these data could impact negatively on their operations. Then there's also little information available on demographic areas, especially for opportunities. And for demographic areas, that is areas where they are not electrified, so that they can probably assess these areas to help provide other options for electrification. So information on demographic areas is able to create opportunity to shape the strategies of renewable energy companies is quite missing. Then there is the inadequate information on renewable energy initiatives by the regulator. Also is another barrier that we face. Then generally, what we saw was that the knowledge of the impact on environmental sustainability among SMEs is quite low. Perhaps this is because of there's little or no education on how on how the the environment is being impacted on, and also the advantage of renewable energy technologies to salvage the situation of the climate change and environmental sustainability. But we are hoping that as time goes on, SMEs and businesses are able to catch on the need for them to also contribute to sustaining the environment within their business operations. Then they can also make meaningful contributions and adapt to the changing climate for renewable energy. But then some of the financing options we saw from banks that were available from banks, and also the coping strategies of some companies and some renewable energy service providers, so that self-financing is one of the key things that SMEs would go to. Among those who had installed renewable energy plants, renewable energy technologies, self-financing was quite key. And this is quite dependent on those who have the financial capacity to engage in this. As we already indicated, one of the main challenges related to the increasing the high investment cost. Then there was also the supplier credit schemes, where the suppliers are able to offer some of these technologies on credit for SMEs to be able to use. And although this is limited, but increasingly we have companies coming up with these models, although they also come with the associated risk of non-payment. Then we also have bank loans, and this is generally tied to the capacity of the SME or the renewable energy company to repay the loan, or the capacity of that SME or business to have collateral that is really worth the size of funds that it is looking for. Now, we sought out to identify some of the opportunities for adoption, and we've seen that, of course, renewable energy technology is getting cheaper, and that provides an opportunity for SMEs to adopt. Although we are yet to see guidelines on net metering, the net metering concept, if well done and well developed, will prove beneficial for all parties, government, and then SMEs and whoever that would adopt to renewable energy initiatives. Then there's also the growing local capacity for installation and management. Now there are a lot of companies that are coming up and providing services for solar panels and services for other renewable energy technologies, providing installation, maintenance services, and importing products. We also have people who are building locally some of these renewable energy technologies. So the local capacity for renewable energy technology is growing, and as it grows and the market becomes expanded, the prices would also get cheaper and encourage more competition, and that becomes a bigger opportunity for SMEs to also begin to adopt. And of course, the contribution to environmental sustainability, the fact that an SME is contributing his or her quota to curbing the issues of climate change and ensuring that the environmental is sustainable is one way to go. So basically, these are some of the issues that we raised. Financial challenges, regulatory challenges, and also the limited knowledge that we saw in as far as renewable energy is concerned. And also That's approach that most SMEs are more tuned to increasing their bottom line, to ensuring that they are more profitable, and so the consciousness to environmental sustainability is quite low. These are some of the issues that we found within the survey, and I believe this can set a tone for the conversation to continue. Thank you very much. Kojo, you can take it from here.
Thanks very much, Charles, for putting the status quo into perspective for us. At least now we know what is.
You have to unmute.
No, I'm on mute. Hello?
Yeah, you can hear you.
Yeah. So thanks, Charles, for putting the status quo into perspective for us. Now at least we know what is. Our conversation now will be looking for some ways of plugging some of those holes that you've identified in the study. So now we'll invite Mr. Abraham Jani, who is the Corporate Relations Manager of CalBank, to give us a presentation, some of the financial options available for renewable energy companies and SMEs. So, Mr. Jani, if you are ready.
Thank you so much, Kojo. I hope you can all hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Please, can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So thank you again for this great opportunity. My name, as Kojo said, is Abraham Jani. I am part of the corporate department of CalBank. And I'm part of a team of 4. We are in charge of energy mining and transportation and now green energy. So I would want to take this opportunity to have a short presentation on the bank's offering. And before I proceed, I also want to acknowledge the presence of Nomad. He is the expected country director of Sunref that we are partnering in this project. So my presentation will I will just talk shortly on, talk a little bit about where I'm from, where CalBank is, our capacity, and some types of renewable energy, the role banks can play, the available funding for green financing, and CalBank's green project. So CalBank, I'm sure most of you know, was incorporated in March 1989, and we started business in 1990. So last year was actually 30 years of our existence. And we've been in the listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange, and we got our universal license in 2004. Some of the products or some of the offerings that we have are domestic banking services, international banking, private banking service, treasury, retail banking, corporate, and project financing, among others. For the capacity, what we are able to offer when it comes to business financing, we offer working capital loans, term loans, asset financing, syndicated loans. When it comes to trading financing, we also offer documentary credit facilities, documentary collection, trade and commodity financing. And also for the relationship, we have dedicated officers who are assigned to particular industries. As I spoke earlier on, I'm actually part of the energy team at the bank. For transactional banking, usual transactional banking services. So we offer cash management systems, we offer payment solutions, we offer online services. We also have a corporate finance department that deals with bonds and equity raising for more large-scale projects. So some types of renewable energy sources that we've identified, we realize that in Ghana, the major source is solar energy. And this is basically derived from the radiation energy from the sun. There are other options like the wind energy that also captures the wind flow energy from the environment and is used to power turbines to create electricity. We also have hydro. Hydro is the most popular. I saw it in Charles's slides that we use a lot of hydro energy in Ghana. So that is basically using the dam to produce, we channel water bodies to power the turbines to produce electricity. Geothermal and ocean energy is not more predominant in this part of the world. This basically deals with heat sources that are trapped within the earth, and which these are sometimes this escape through this through steam, and this steam are captured and used to power turbines to produce electricity. Ocean has two main types. They use a thermal and a mechanical. Thermal basically meaning the temperature of the ocean, and also mechanical being they use the wave power to also produce electricity. But let's deal more, we should build focus on what banks can offer as part of the Energy Commission's mandate under the Renewable Energy Act of 2011 to produce or to promote the development and utilization of renewable energy resources technology in Ghana. Banks primarily finance the construction projects, that is mortgage facilities or home improvement and green finance project. What we offer is basically better financial terms, such as low interest rates and longer tenors. And in return, banks get to expand their clientele base and also their product offering. This helps us to build higher value and low cost portfolios. Bank across the emerging markets also treat the utility saving bills of clients as additional income, which allows us to give you more money when you are borrowing. So the good thing is that there are DFIs all over the world who finance this green project. So as part of the challenges that Charles mentioned, he said that lack of funding. But there are a lot of companies all around who are financing green projects in Africa. Namely, we have the African Green Fund, we have the Climate Change Fund, we have the Sustainable Use of Natural Resources and Energy Finance, that's the SUNREF. And with that, Gal Bank has actually partnered with them and they've given us a facility of $20 million that is available for clients who want to proceed or want to embark on green projects. We also have International Finance Corporation, that's IFC, also giving us about $12.5 million, which are also available to clients of the bank. So for us, Cal Bank, we are not just talkers, but we actually walk the walk. If I don't know how many of you know our head office building, but our head office is completely green, saying that we have solar panels that produce over 20% of the power that we use in the building. We have motion sensors, lights that go off and come on when people are not around in the building. We actually have a system that regulates the water in the washrooms. So, and also we give offer initiatives where we go more paperless than having to print paper and waste paper. So we go more to save the environment. We also make funding available for our clients to access. The project feature, as I said, with assistance from SUNREF. So how can one qualify for a facility with Cal Bank? Or what we say that basically for you to qualify for a green finance facility, it has to be a renewable energy project. It has to be an energy efficient project that is leading also to 20% energy savings. It has to be a project that uses sustainable use of natural resources. And also the project has to be implemented in Ghana. What are we offering? We are saying that there's financing or interest rate. And also we are saying that there's flexible repayment terms. Target markets. We are hoping to capture the corporate, the SME, even the individual who want to purchase renewable energy solutions or energy efficient appliances for their homes. The product description. We have made available for corporate bodies who can access up to $8 million for their projects. For SME, we give you the option to access up to $2 million for your project, and for individuals, $50,000. And we give a minimum tenor of 3 years. This gives you ample time to be able to pay your money when you actually access these funds. And as an added bonus, through SUNREF, we actually have access to a grant that's from EU, that would help you reduce your cost of borrowing from the bank. How can one qualify for a facility from the bank? The main basic thing that we need is an official request from the client telling us what you need, what you're going to use it for, and the supporting document. So if you are embarking on a project, we expect that you will have done the project analysis, know how much energy you are saving, know the returns, how you intend to pay the money, having cash flows to show, okay, I can pay this funds in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. That gives the bank a general overview of how much we need to structure a facility. The bank will make sure that whatever you are implementing meets the environmental and social risk management requirements of the bank. And as an addition, we have the experts from SunRev who will also go through the project and see if it meets the requirements and approve the project. We believe in the holistic approach that we don't just give you money, but we'll also give you technical and financial advice. So aside giving you the money, there's a team in place to also monitor what you're doing and see if you are using the best options or best technical equipment that are available. For security, I know this is where most SMEs feel that they lack security. That's why they can't go to the banks. But what we are saying is that depending on the amount and the structure of the facility or the structure of the project that you're doing, we would use the equipment that we are financing as security. We also use the proceeds, your business proceeds, as a source of security, and any other security that we deem that is appropriate for the bank. So what am I saying? In summary, basically what you want to say is that there are numerous financial options for both corporate SMEs and individual in green financing. Our bank understands the individual and the social benefit of going green, and therefore committed to playing an active role in the transition from non-renewable energy to green energy. What our bank is therefore saying that we are willing to partner you to collaborate with clients for your growth, and we care about the environment. So let us all cooperate for our mutual benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, our details are also here in the slides. We'll make it available for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Abraham, for that presentation. I am just wondering how many SMEs are aware that something like this is available, and then I would ask Alhaji Mumin when we begin the panel discussion. So for the panel, we have Alhaji Said.
But maybe to add to what you just said, and thanks again, Mr. Danny, for this wonderful presentation. Maybe part of the conversation will also be to highlight what the advocacy strategy is for SMEs to get to know these products that you do have. Because, I mean, what Charles presented was from the perspective of business and their understanding of what is happening in the space. So we see the banks talking about products, but those who are really supposed to benefit from the products often do not know that those products exist. So the advocacy strategy around it, and also maybe we can highlight how different these products are from normal lending. Perhaps if we can look at the range of interest rates that is applicable for various funds, that can also help. You can go on. Thank you.
Hello?
Sorry, Mr.
So go ahead, Kojo.
We didn't hear what you said, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Ben, I think there was a break in the communication. So
there was a break. So what I was saying, I was just thanking you for the presentation and also highlighting that what Charles presented was strictly from the perspective of business and the stakeholders we actually interviewed. And it will be useful for you to highlight what the advocacy strategy around these products that you mentioned, the financing options that you mentioned are, so that they will get to know that you do have those products. And also, if you can put a range in perspective, I mean, interest rates, to say that between this and that, is what is available and how different these products are from normal lending rates. So yeah, that's what I wanted to put across. So it can come up in the conversation as we move along.
Okay.
Was I
Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentations. So for the panel, I have Alhaji Said Mumin Bawa, who is the national president of the Association of Small Scale Industries. And he has had a lot of experience working with SMEs in Ghana. He's also a technical committee member of the NBSSI. And I have Mr. Emmanuel Ayifaba, who has over 20 years experience in sales and marketing in the renewable energy sector, and is currently the managing director for Starsight Energy Ghana Limited, leading African commercial and industrial solar power supplier. We also have Normand, that Abraham mentioned, is the team leader for the technical assistance of the new SunRef Ghana program. And he has a lot of experience in the field of energy efficiency and renewable energy.
I think we are losing you.
Could you're on mute? We can't hear you.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I was just introducing the panel members who are joining me to continue the discussion. Alhaji Said Mumin Bawa is the national president of the Association of Small Scale Industries. He has worked with SMEs a lot and is also a member of the technical committee of the NBSSI in Ghana. Then we have Mr. Emmanuel Ayifaba, who has over 20 years experience in sales, marketing, and business development in the renewable energy sector, and is currently the managing director for Starsight Energy Ghana Limited, a leading African commercial and industrial solar power supplier. Then we have Normand Michaud. I hope I got that right. Is a team leader for the technical assistance of the new SunRef Ghana program. He has worked in the field of energy efficiency and renewable energy financing for over 15 years, and he will bring some lessons from those experiences to bear on our discussion. And then finally, we have Mr. Stanislaus Day. He's a banker with Stanbic Bank, and he is part of the Sustainable Finance, Green Construction, Green Jobs group with the Stanbic Bank Ghana. So we're going straight. Mr. Said Mumin, I mean, I threw a question to you before we zoomed into this session. How aware are you of some of these products and services that these financial institutions have as an association, and how approachable have they been, if you are aware first, to the SMEs in accessing some of these facilities? Please unmute your microphone.
I should unmute it.
Yeah, you are fine now.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Fine now.
Yes. I'm saying that not much aware. We are not much aware of what is happening. It's something that it has become so. It's a new information that we are getting, because it was a no-go area for micro, small, medium enterprises if you want to acquire this renewable energy. So it is something that is very new to us. And the presentation that started, I looked at what CalBank was, the product that CalBank have for us. I'm even shocked. So now that the advocacy aspect of it is something that is very essential and important to us, because we have over 3 million or 3.5 million members who are micro, small, medium enterprises. And we know the hell that we are going through in getting power to generate and then do our businesses. So that is what I have immediately just to tell you. Then from there, we take it from there. Hello? Are you there? Are you hearing me? Am I on?
Yeah, I heard you. You're on.
What I'm trying to say is something very strange, because what I'm trying to say, we don't have much information about this renewable energy power or energy that is happening in the country. But I believe that that should have been a cheaper source, like listening to all the presentation. I looked at it and said that's the most cheapest one that will help our business even to grow at all hamlets, all over the country. Some places are there, even the national grid is not getting there. But with this national and with this renewable energy, we'll be able to help and then do a lot of businesses all over.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Norman, the group of people that you are seeking to serve with your facility are confessing today that they are not even aware that something like that is going on. How did that happen?
It's pretty simple. It's mostly because we are only starting. Even, I mean, this is the first official workshop and presentation that we've done, and to talk about it. This is really a new program. This is a new project. I've arrived in Accra 2 weeks ago. I am now based here, and I'm working with CalBank and the Energy Commission to launch this initiative. So at this point, we have the agreement signed with the different parties. We are able right now to start looking at projects and start analyzing those projects with CalBank. But the official launch of this initiative has then been done. So we are clearly working on the marketing, on the communication plan right now. We will have an official launching event. We will invite the SMEs Association. We will invite the ministries. We will do something more official with a newspaper, even on the TV, so that as many SMEs and businesses as possible can know about this new product. So this is why mostly no one had heard about it. And just to mention a little bit more about it, because we will do an official launch event, of course. CalBank will also have more marketing tools to promote this across its different branches in the country. And then we will also conduct specific events, either targeting specific sectors or specific type of businesses. So for sure, I think Mr. Said movement, we will be in discussion in the coming weeks where we can discuss together what would be best in terms of reaching out to these to your members and see who would be more interested in this kind of products. And we will conduct those events not only in Accra, but also we will go to the other cities and region to do this kind of promotion and show what we're able to do.
Okay, thanks. I think that is fair. So we would hold on and wait for you to get to that point. But Mr. Day, I mean, apart from what CalBank is just telling us that they've done, there is the general perception that Ghanaian banks are not being innovative enough in designing green products to help small businesses access RE technologies. Is that assessment fair? that you are not being innovative enough?
Good morning again, and thank you for this opportunity. I don't know what is happening, but my camera is not working, so maybe we'll go with it. But okay. What is important is that we get the. So I have always don't try to look at this from only bank's perspective, or let's say a single bank's perspective, or that of government. This is about a private sector, a well issue, and very important for us to stop working in silos and get to resolve the issues. When you look at it critically, the issue about innovation or products is, yes, a significant issue, because we cannot, the banks cannot chest out now and say we have product and services that services everybody in the renewable energy sector, the green building sector, the adaptation center, mitigation center, all that. So I think the starting point is for us to be able to make everybody understand that this is a shift or a transition that we are all undergoing across the world. So first, you have to look at it as a global thing where we are talking about SDGs, look at climate change, come to the NDCs in country where we have about 35 programs of action. And renewable energy and energy efficiency is just one of the many things that we have to do. The reason why it becomes so significant is because energy is the biggest issue when it comes to climate change. I mean, if you put everything together that has something energy, you might be talking about close to about 70% of the issues and the troubles that we have in this world not getting solved because energy is not well dealt with. So yes, the banks as it stands, we don't have all the products. No single bank is going to be able to do this. What is, however, exciting is that I have been part of the sustainable banking principles for the banking industry in Ghana. We launched principles in 2019. This was launched by the Vice President on the 27th of November. And I can tell you, as we talk now, there's a lot of conversations going on among the banks to come together and put products and services that services everybody. I think maybe we don't have time now to go into all the things, but I will say that yes, as of now, we don't have all that it takes to service everybody. There's a significant issue about awareness and education on the part of even the people who will benefit. But the banks, very few of us, we know ourselves, are in this space. So it's gradual, but I mean, there is a bigger plan that is being implemented to make sure that every bank comes on board to service this. I must say that all the 23 commercial banks are signed off principles of sustainable banking to make sure that all products in this shape are in the market.
Okay. Let me come back to you again. So the role I see banks playing, because I mean, from Abraham's presentation, there are a lot of big climate funds out there that the ordinary SME cannot access on their own. So the role I see banks playing is to be sort of an intermediary between those big funds and the SMEs who need those products. How difficult has it been for the banks in Ghana to access those funds, and how do we bridge that gap that there is funds out there, people are accessing it, but we can't get it?
Okay, that's a very interesting and a very important question. So the way funding of these projects work across the world is such that not even the banks, I mean, there are very few that the banks can just get up on their own and go directly and say, I want to access those funds. Yes, there are programs that we can go access grants and all that. But when you look at the structure of financing renewable energy, energy efficiency and all that, linked to the type of funds we have in the world, the biggest fund that we are talking about is Green Climate Fund. And the projection is that we should be able to be mobilizing about $100 billion for developing countries from last year, 2020. We are not there yet. But I also know that among the banks in Ghana, EcoBank is an accredited entity. I don't want to go too much into all these technicalities about the National Definition Authority and all that. But what it means is that for you to access maybe a fund like maybe NAMA fund, GCF fund, you have to work closely with governments. Governments should be able to say, yes, whatever funds you are going in for is in line with my objectives of meeting my climate risk. And then you as the intermediary or the bank should also have the capacity to be able to work with people like that, EPA, Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, to say, yes, we are all doing this together in line with the better good of the country and the world. So yes, there are funds there. There are very few ones that you don't need this type of processes. But if you want the significant funds, I know that there are funds that we are working on with EPA and MESTI, for instance, to support particular manufacturing sectors within AGI, for instance. I mean, I don't know whether that information is available to Alaji, but there are key sectors that they will look at and say, this is what is emitting a lot more gas in my country. I need to deal with it. So they might not be necessarily coming down to the SME that we know that is maybe a barber or has a house or doing a small scale manufacturing that will need to do lighting as a service or have a 5 kilowatts solar home system. But there are programs that are in there. What I always say is, if we, the banks, understand these processes and can work closely with governments, and like I said earlier on, stop working in silos, then we'll be able to access some of these funds and give to the client. Now, the other major thing is, yes, some of the funds we can say is available, but at what interest rate are we giving out those monies? You talk to the developers, they will tell you, if I'm doing a development for a client, maybe beyond 19%, maybe that project will not be profitable. Are we willing to be able to negotiate, go into agreement with some of these international funds, the grants and all that, to be able to bring these rates down to make it reasonable for Alaji and the team to use these funds? So yes, these are some of the challenges, but I think it's more of also coming up, and for ACEP, maybe what we have to be looking at together is to come up with a clear taxonomy on this energy thing for the country. So people will know that when we talk about energy efficiency, these are the sectors we are looking at, these are the type of projects we are looking at, and all that. As it stands now, it's like we are all trying to just play within the space without any guidelines. So yes, there is a lot more that we have to do to be able to do that with your support as well. I know you do a lot of good work in the energy space.
Great. That's very interesting. And I'll hold on to a thought that I have. But let me go to Mr. Ban. You are a supplier. I see you also playing a certain role as an intermediary, standing between the banks and the consumer. In Ghana here, we have seen successes with the lease model in other products. The lease model has been effective. What we call here the hire purchase model has been successful for consuming other products which are capital intensive. Why has that not been more successful in the renewable energy technology sector?
Well, it's a couple of things, especially from where I sit, where you have to, like you said, be an intermediary for both forces. From the client point, there are a number of things. There is not just it's the cost of these. We keep hearing about the funding is available. It's not just an issue of the funding being available. Is the fund available at a price that allows for a product that satisfies an SME? So if Mr. Day said just a few minutes ago, if the funds are available at 19%, I have no idea what kind of lease model that can be developed to satisfy an SME. Because remember that the competition is always with the traditional sources of power. So, and then from a marketing point, it's always so difficult to push the green agenda. For most SME, it's not about going green unless there is a price to pay for for not going green. So maybe that's an area we can look at. If there's a price to pay, possibly the adoption would be higher. So now the interest to go renewable is more towards cost. So if I compare what I pay now for ECG or genset, and I switch to solar or wind or whichever, will I be cheaper? That question can only be answered if the cost of the funds is such that you can develop a product to satisfy that demand. Currently, stuff with all the traditional banks we know around, the tenor of the facility they offer, the rate at which they offer, and even how the product is structured. For a lot of these factories or industries, they don't want it to be as though they were going to take a facility like they always do to improve business. So when you come in as a company that's a developer, as an EPC, what the interest is, okay, if you want to build me a solar plant or a wind farm, fine, go raise the funds and come. Now the bank, on the other hand, will come and say, no, we don't want to deal with you. We want to deal with the client. So these issues, and then now the bank now has to make an offer, and they look at the offer, and the offer is different from what you communicated to the client. So it's a bit of everything. But I would say that it's not as you would say 5 years ago or 2 years ago. It's gotten better. There are a few more. There's a little more interest in the space. There are a number of things, but possibly I'll just hold on till now until you have any other question.
I'm interested in you telling us how we can make that better, that collaboration between you, the providers, and the banks, such that you can be intermediaries. Because, of course, I mean, there's small businesses, they may not have the capital to do the outright investment so that they can stagger the payments over a certain period. How do we make that relationship between you and the banks better?
Well, the bank need to understand that for the fight is a long one. It's not a 100-meter dash. It's a marathon. So once it's a marathon, there must be some patient fund for these activities. If you take solar, we are looking at, you are putting a product that's going to take 20 to 25 years. And then again, so when you go, the product must always be such that it depends also if it's a lease to own, if it's a PPA, whichever. It is longer than, I mean, previously the highest I had a bank do was do a tenor for like 5 years, 7 years. That definitely won't work. So there's a need for the bank to engage these companies, these service providers, and really understand what can be structured such a way that it can compete with the traditional sources. Once that is done, there shouldn't be any issues. So now it's as though you can only offer a lease to own and compete with the grid if you borrowed at a certain rate, and that is not available as we speak in Ghana. I don't know if SunRef involvement will change that picture, but this is what it is.
Great. Thanks for those insights. Now, Norman, you have spent the past 15 years in working around energy financing issues. What would you say are the best market-based financing models that have proven successful for small businesses for RE investments in your 15 years?
That's a good questions. As you can expect, it would be different from region to region and even from countries to countries.
Right.
I clearly see the different barriers that they have here. I think for something like this to work, first of all, as we mentioned, or as Mr. Said mentioned, I think there's a good need for capacity building and for sharing more information on renewable energy and even services to help SMEs understand what would be the benefit exactly and how to analyze those benefits financially. So Mr. Emmanuel was mentioning about the cash flow analysis over a number of years, try to better understand at what point the cost benefit is worth it. I think most bigger companies would be able to do something like this, but for smaller SMEs, it might not be a knowledge that they possess. So it's if we can have some tools and some help to make them see and clearly see exactly what would be the impact of installing a PV system for this cost and this financial over the next 20 years. This is already an information that can help them take a sound investment decision. And this is something that Sunref, of course, can help on. I mean, what I'm doing here is a technical assistance. So it's not just the bank working with a client to tell them this is the financing that you can offer. This is also us working with the SMEs and the commercial sector to show them a little bit more information on how you can analyze this and how do you see the benefit out of it. So either we can help provide more technical advice on the PV system and make them understand what kind of generation of power they can expect over the 20 years. We can even help on running cash flow analysis if they need it. And we did run those analyses with the bank to try to figure out, as Emmanuel mentioned, about the PPA approach, the leasing approach, what is currently used on the market, in terms of number of years for those kind of contract, and what kind of effective interest rate are we seeing on the markets, and how can we compete with that, and what kind of products can we advertise and use that the local SMEs and facilities will find more interesting than to go through a normal PPA or leasing approach. So this is what we were looking for. If you want it to work also, I think there's a big need for capacity building, but at the banking sector. I mean, we probably have on the line the banking expert that knows how renewable energy works, how those projects should be analyzed. But then most of those loans for SMEs, I mean, they go through branch officers to other people in the field who often will have no idea how to analyze this kind of projects. I mean, they would see the investment in terms of an equipment that you install, but they wouldn't be able to clearly understand, okay, what would be the benefit in terms of the cash flow of the company for the next 20 years? How do you take this into consideration when you do your analysis on risk? How do you take into consideration that they would pay less electricity for the next 20 years and have more money for their operation? So this is all things that needs to be considered on the banking sector. And again, I don't want to talk. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time just talking about Sunref, but this is something that we are doing. This is one of the big activities that we have is to provide capacity building on the banking side with call banks. So all banking officers for the different branches and different offices in the different regions, we want to be able to provide them some tools that are going to help them analyze those type of projects and have a better understanding of all the benefit that comes through it and how it should impact their decision making in terms of saying, okay, this is a project that we technically we understand better, and that we are more ready to take a little bit more risk maybe in some of them to go on and invest. And the last thing that might be useful sometimes is to have a mechanism on risk sharing guarantees with the bank. This is often not too useful for the smaller projects, but for bigger one, if a company is in a position where the project is really interesting, but the debt ratio of the company is it might be on the limit of what a bank would do. Then we can have guarantees coming from the EU in this case. This is what we have here. Which can come and do some kind of risk sharing guarantee for the first loss. which normally would provide the bank with a better capacity or to go above what they would normally do when finance companies that they might not have done it without this. So those are all tools that are available and that should normally help the market like this for SMEs. And I'm talking a lot, but the last thing is to provide. When I say provide information on SMEs, is also about providing information on the right technologies, so the good equipment. So it's always, I mean, you can do a project with bad equipment, and the impact of it is that the company will never want to do such project again because they're going to have issues on maintenance, issue on production. So we do have a list that we're developing of what we call eligible equipment from local manufacturers and distributors. So we will make this available for anyone on the website of Sunrev. So any SMEs who sees that the equipment that a provider wants to install on their site is on that list, at least they would know, okay, this is high quality equipment that is in the most efficient equipment that I can find. And then you can be a little bit more sure about the quality and that the project will work. So this is something we'll do, and we can also see if we can provide maybe a list of certified providers and vendors that would help also the SMEs know, okay, who can I reach to do this kind of projects, and who can I be sure will have the expertise to do it correctly, and not anyone on the side of the street that would do it.
Great. I'll be opening up the conversation to the other participants soon. So if you want to make a comment, just raise your hand down there and I would call you. But Mr. Day, so the service companies represented by Mr. Ban here is asking for patience. How much patience do you have to give longer tenor financing as banks?
Okay, the truth about banks and giving longer tenor financing is about the type of funding you have. So if you have your deposits that are largely short term, it is very difficult for you to do anything beyond your matching concept, where you try to look at your deposit, how quickly customers want to come for the money, and how long the money stays with you. So you see that in the country, on the average, like he has said already, the average is about 5 years. We do quite, and as much as possible, I don't want to come and sell my bank here. That is not the purpose for this. For me, I believe that this conversation is beyond any bank or any person. It's a national or world thing we are trying to solve. So most of the banks on the average could do about 5 years to about 7 years. But that is where now other institutions come in, because it's no longer an issue about any particular individual. So that is where the policy instruments of government and the market-based instruments come in. So I can tell you there are fundings that I'm working on now that can allow us to maybe, for instance, partner with another organization and give funding up to maybe 10, 15 years. Because then...
Right. So I see... So...
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello. Mr. Day.
Yeah, can I continue?
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
I think there's something interrupted. So, like I was saying, there are ways that we can partner. The reason why maybe, for instance, one of the institutions will go to IFC and go to GCF is because GCF can give you a grant as well as a loan depending on your situation. So, for instance, if we see that the major issue about most of the developers is the fact that they need longer term funding, and it is not because the project is not profitable, then we need to find those funds. And that is why funding is no longer the traditional commercial lending that we know. You give everybody loan, you give everybody debt, but blended financing is the way we are going now, where I can give a loan for the person to maybe look at their working capital, but maybe when it comes to a particular equipment financing, I'm bringing in a grant, an investor or a venture capitalist, but the traditional commercial bank or microfinance we know in this country, the challenge we have is maybe it's not everybody that is abreast with how we can even partner with some of these institutions. So we are still stuck with our own old traditional products. So there is opportunity for us to work together, tap into all these other funding that are available. The truth is that they are available. If we say they are not available, we are lying. At reasonable interest rates and terms to help the developers, help the international community. I mean, people like GIZ, they are all part of the international accredited entities for most of the these green projects. So if we work together closely, I think things will turn around better for everybody. And I am saying that this should be looked at as a national crisis that we are tackling together as financial institutions. It is not the time for competition, because I mean, it's not going to take you anywhere. There is no way even half of the banks in this country can meet the needs of most of the SMEs. The last thing I want to say is that, yes, the other challenge that we have most of the time with the international organizations that want to help in this space is that they are always focusing on the institutional and commercial types of projects. I have had the opportunity to do a lot of collaborations with the teams, and you look at it and you are looking at commercial projects. I want to do solar for a big company. What about the SMEs that we are talking about? The SMEs on the average maybe talking about 10 kilowatts maximum, 15 kilowatts maximum. People are looking for, 1 megawatts type of project to do. So yes, the funds might be there, but again, the focus is not in the interest of the bigger population that is supporting us to survive in this country. Close to about 90% of our SMEs are looking for smaller power installations. So that is another thing that we need to look at.
All right, thank you. Let me bring in Raymond.
Yes.
Raymond, yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really enjoying the presentation. I want to make, not questions, but make 4 statements bordering on Ben's opening remarks and mostly on Charles's presentation. Okay, so my first statement is that I appreciate the challenges Charles listed as barriers blocking effective deployment of renewable technology. In addition to all that he mentioned, I see also a clear lack of understanding of the different technologies and how the technologies work. There's a lot of debate and then very little direction in this regard. Now, let me explain this. For a company like HPW, I'm sure most of us know HPW, has been able to combine 3 renewable energy technologies very effectively and is doing very, very well. Now, the reason why I said there's lack of direction is that we've been running or operating a Renewable Energy Act since 2011. When the feed-in tariff system was in place, the feed-in tariff system made provision for individual technologies and actually failed to recognize a combination of technologies into a single unit. This is one of the challenges that we need to look at critically going forward. My second statement I want to make is that there seems to be lack of investment in the most promising technologies and too much access to technologies that we think are politically acceptable. And we need to really look at that one as well. Again, let me expatiate on that. The Act from 2011 failed to actually address 2 critical aspects which would have actually opened up the sector, namely net metering and establishment of the Renewable Energy Fund. I've had this discussion with Ben before, and I'm sure he will comment about this, but the Renewable Energy Act clearly mentioned these 2 aspects. These are 2 key instruments that will power the sector financially. Net metering, we still don't know how it is, and then the establishment of the fund. Now I hear that in the revised act, we are trying to do something about the fund. These are things that we really need to look at. So as Ben said from the beginning, this presentation, this interaction is also to engineer advocacy. So these are things that I think we should actually be looking at. Now, the third statement I want to make is that Charles mentioned environmental sustainability heavily in his presentation, which is very true. We are talking about renewable energy. The first thing that comes to mind is environmental sustainability. This also means that in all these interventions we are making, we should be thinking about how to dispose of our equipment after their lifespan, because that is also an environmental concern. 20 years, 30 years from today, all the solar panels, the biogas equipment, everything have to be replaced. How do we make sure that these don't bring another challenge for us? We don't want to solve one problem by creating another one. So direction is needed. So the banks, once they have funds now, probably they can also engineer research into these areas, and so that we all get in that direction. Now, the final statement I want to make is about the fact that SMEs and even large private sector enterprises, no doubt, some of them have had very bad experiences from our installers, from suppliers of equipment and all that. This again needs a lot of direction and standardization. And I work in the DKTI market entry program area. One of our intervention is to support the Energy Commission to put in place codes that will guide installation of biogas and solar systems. And this, I can announce to the House that is going on very well. Very soon, we'll see codes of installation and things like that. So we need to actually empower the regulatory institutions and make sure that we do this, we sanitize the sector, so that people with very bad experiences will put it behind them, and then we can open up the sector together. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Raymond. If you want to make a comment or ask a question, just indicate by raising your hand and I'll call you. Please, before we continue, there is a form in the chat section, which is kind of an attendance form. I will entreat everybody to just click on it and fill it whilst we have the conversation. Do we still have Alhaji Said here? I wanted to ask Alhaji Said if they are ready for the products that are coming their way. I think we've lost Alhaji Said.
Could you, if I can just make a quick point before somebody else comes? Mr. Day mentioned the fact that for most of the companies, the size is an issue. They want the big projects, but I want to tell him that Starsight has, even though we have 34 megawatts installed to date, our smallest is like 5 and 10 kilowatt, and we have all the way to 3 megawatts. So it doesn't, that has changed. And again, for tenor, we have, it depends on the client. We can go all the way to about 15 years. And we have funding already for it. So just to tell Mr. Day. And the issue, the other point he made was the issue of technology. Somebody else, I think, made the issue of the point on adopting current technologies.
The right kind of technology.
Yeah, that's also very, very important, because one of the hindrances has been the issue of space, especially for solar. Most of these factories and these SMEs don't have the roof space and all of that. So it's very important that new technologies, more efficient panels requiring smaller spaces are being used. And that we have adopted and we are using currently.
Great. That is great. Any more reactions? All right, so Ben.
Yes.
Maybe you can give us.
I think Alhaji was on to answer your question. So
Alhaji is on now.
No, he's always been on. I think he had to unmute and come back on.
Alhaji. I can't see him in the participants. Maybe
Okay, whilst we sort out Alaji's microphone, maybe if the regulators can help, PRC, Energy Commission, if you can help us on some of the issues on the regulatory side, because you are key in this conversation. And maybe we need another bigger conversation on how to support the regulators to really help us. But if you can come in at this point, that would also be helpful.
Hello, Alaji's on the line.
Yeah,
hello.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, you were asking me whether it's a welcome news for us. At least
whether you are ready.
We are ready. We are ready because this is a very essential part of this. Is an ingredient that makes us produce more that we can produce. And for that matter, like yesterday, I was having a discussion with my members, some of my executive members, about this particular meeting, which everybody is very happy to do that. Because there was some time ago when the GAPSO, that is the barbers, used to have some of this type of panels all over the country, but it got, I think it was not durable and people were complaining about it. So what we are saying is just that we are welcoming it. Let's look at it. Let's do it very well. Let the SMEs actually benefit from it. And any product that is coming to Ghana should be a product that will be durable, because the cost involved is not easy, even though you talk of cheaper supply of power. But don't forget that the thing is very costly, and my people are welcoming it. So we are on standby, waiting to see what is going to happen to us. And like I said, the advocacy, the capacity building, and all those things are welcome with Association of Small Scale. That's what I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Like Ben was mentioning, do we have any of the regulators here to make a comment on how do we create the space for regulators to provide the needed information and capacity? Nope, I don't think we have any yet. So Ben, can you come in and give us your... So first of all, I would like to thank my panel members. Thank for the engaging conversation that we've had. We look forward to collaborating with some of you going forward in trying to build the advocacy around this issue, because it is apparent that there is a lot of knowledge that has to be produced and shared on this matter in the future. ACEP is collaborating with GIZ Ghana to develop a guide that would show SMEs basically what kind of technologies should you go in for, where do you find them, and how do you finance them. So we'll be coming to you as often as that process is ongoing to get more information on how we can put out the best information to inform people and build their capacity to be able to take advantage of some of the things that we are talking about here. So thank you all. I would invite Ben to say the last thank yous, and then we'll bring the session to an end.
No, thank you very much, Kojo, and thank you very much to all the speakers and participants. There was a question about standard financing parameters for renewable energy. I think as it came out from the presentation, we don't have a standard, but the banks are doing their best within their own portfolios to be able to assist. And that flows into some of the points that were raised by the banks, particularly Mr. Deon, working together to address the key challenges that confronts all of us. It's not for one person or one organization to do at this point, but all of us as stakeholders will have to continue the conversation and develop a strategy that helps us to see the bigger picture and work together on these things. And I think it's been a learning for all of us and for us at ACEP as well on the direction that we need to go from here, deepening the conversation with the various stakeholders. Today, we really focused on the banks and then the industry. And I think if we can begin a conversation to see how regulation can improve, how policy can improve, and how we can really classify the issues, as Mr. Day said, so that we know what we're dealing with, what is possible, what is not. How can we strategize climate financing and also take advantage of the technologies that are emerging in the renewable space. And one important point also about the efficiency of the technologies, what is working, what is not working. And I think that's a critical point. I came across somebody who was really discouraged because he bought panels that were really inefficient and made him think that that was really it. But we need to really improve on regulation and standardization to ensure that we can put out the right technology, the most efficient technologies, so that people will be encouraged, to continue adopting it. The net metering concern, Raymond, I hear you. I think there is a lot of work to be done. You remember what happened when ECG on its own, accord just decided not to pursue net metering because it was inundated with conventional energy and they couldn't do that. So we need to push for stronger regulation on that. Government cannot commit to power plants and therefore it impacts on the adoption of renewable technology, even though we have the rules to apply. Now that is specific in the Act, I think we have a legal document to work with, and going forward, we have to work together to ensure that the net metering issue is addressed. So I think these are the issues that I think we can work together on. And also the key point about the waste disposal, I think we're missing that point, but it's very, very germane as we go forward. How do we ensure that we're not only financing technology, but is a part that can also be mitigated? Research and do the recycling in that space is quite relevant. So I want to thank you for being part of this. And like I said, this is just the beginning of the conversation, and we are committed to working with all of you to fashion out the good strategy for Ghana to participate in the renewable space. So I thank you very much.
So we have a late hand up. Raymond Ahiadome from GIZ, you have the last word.
Thank you very much, Kojo, and pardon me for breaking protocol, coming in after the closing remarks. I just want to mention, over the course of the session, we've mentioned a lot about awareness raising, capacity building, making the SMEs know about opportunities and all that. And I think it would be an injustice if we do not mention the fact that the German government is supporting the Association of Ghana Industries by establishing an energy service center that is expected to provide independent advisory services for SMEs, commercial and industrial consumers, and also renewable energy and energy efficiency service providers. So the center undertakes awareness, raising activities, educates SMEs, educates commercial and industrial consumers on renewable energy and energy efficiency investment, and how that can help their business, pardon me. And then we also build capacity. There are several training measures undertaken by the center. As we speak, there is one slated for this week for commercial and industrial consumers, and then also upcoming training sessions for RE and EE service providers. So currently, since last year, we've been turning out more aware SMEs who now want to go into renewable energy and energy efficiency investment. And then the access to finance remains a problem. And then knowing that CalBank and the rest have facilities, and then they're also looking for clients, I believe this is a good opportunity to link the two. We know we've been working with CalBank in our projects. They are part of the advisory group and all that, and steering committee rather. It would be good to link these various stakeholders, and then that market that is there through the training undertaken by the Energy Service Center can be tapped into by the likes of CalBank, so that together we can connect the dots, and then all we are doing to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency can come to fruition. Our activities can realize the much needed solutions we are looking for. So that's my brief input regarding the Energy Service Center. And I'm hopeful that, yes, there will be more opportunities to bring the center closer to those who need it most, the SMEs, and then the area service providers, as well as the financial institutions. Thank you.
All right, so there's a contact for the AGI Energy Service Center in the chat box that we can have access to. Thank you everyone for making time. We appreciate the time that you spent with us and the enriching discussion that we've had with you. We'll keep in touch on future engagements such as this, and everyone have a good morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.